The major causes of fatalities on building sites are falls, vehicle accidents and electrocution. If you understand and follow safe work procedures, the risks of fatality or major injury will be greatly reduced. This program refers to safety management issues, mobile plant and traffic safety concerns, fall prevention procedures, and safety requirements when using power tools and electricity. Employers and workers have a duty of care to work in a safe manner so that no one is harmed due to their actions or neglect. Particular practices and procedures must be followed to complete certain jobs. To ensure procedures are maintained, management, builders, tradesmen, labourers and plant operators are required to have the appropriate qualification, certificate of competence, training and supervision to work at a building site. If you are unsure or unfamiliar with an operating process, ask for instruction from your supervisor. A hazard is any situation with the potential to cause injury. A risk is the likelihood that exposure to a hazard will result in injury. Hazard identification, risk assessment, safeguards and controls to minimise the risk of injury is the aim of worksite safety management. Identify all foreseeable hazards and risks before commencing any task. Apply site and task-specific hazard identification and risk control in the following order: elimination, substitution, isolation, engineering controls, administrative controls, personal protective equipment, placing barriers to prevent people falling and wearing PPE are examples of hazard control measures. All employees must sign off on the work method statement, which documents how a task will be undertaken. If you identify a hazard and you can do something to remove, reduce or control the risk, then do so. If you notice a hazard that you cannot eliminate on your own or that you are unsure about, report the matter to your supervisor. Report incidents such as chemical spills, damage to equipment and structures. Be aware as changes occur in your work environment, such as when different construction phases commence, or if bad weather creates a hazard. Consider how your work could affect the safety of others in the area. When circumstances change, adjust hazard control measures accordingly. An option could be to work in another area until hazardous work activity is completed. Safety management includes environmental guidelines that reduce workers' exposure to pollution, as well as minimising damage to neighbouring areas and ecological systems. Reduce workplace air pollution. Use masonry cutting and grinding equipment that doesn't release excessive amounts of concrete dust into the air. Periodically dampen dry ground with water to reduce dust produced by wind and machines. To moderate noise concerns, schedule noisy equipment operations during the day, when it's less likely to disturb nearby residents. Keep the site clear of rubbish. Put discarded building material and litter into the appropriate bins. Keep water systems clean. Don't tip chemicals into drains. Dispose of them appropriately. Ensure you are correctly using, storing and disposing of chemicals and substances by reading details on labels and by referring to material safety data sheet guidelines. Worksites have mobile plant, such as trucks, earth-moving machinery, forklifts and cranes. Injury incidents occur when mobile plant collide with people, other machines and structures, or when materials fall from plant. use pedestrian walkways and look out for vehicles when crossing roads. Notify the relevant authorities of any potential disruption caused by plant movement at a roadside. If you have to work on the edge of a roadway, make sure that you're seen. Place warning signs to alert traffic. Use the designated area to load and unload material from vehicles. Fences separating plant work areas are there to keep people away. Keep turning areas clear so vehicles can move without impeding traffic. Drivers must abide by the workplace speed limit and keep at least a vehicle length apart when moving. If you have to enter a crane loading area, make sure operators can see you are in the vicinity. When you walk on the top level of a building, be aware that tower cranes could be depositing loads in the area. Make your presence known when you move in excavation areas where mobile plant work. Be aware that plant operators have a limited field of view when reversing and moving loads. Consider the extent that plant parts can move and where material from a load lands, so you can keep out of range. Don't hitch a ride with mobile plant. It's dangerous and illegal. If you are a plant operator, walk around your machine before you start it. Look for oil leaks or damage to the machine. A pre-operational check is required, which generally includes adjusting the mirrors, testing the indicators, warning lights, horn and brakes. Ensure there are no people or objects within a dangerous distance. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations for checks, inspection and maintenance. Ensure faults are repaired. Lock and tag faulty equipment so people are aware that it should not be operated. Undertake an assessment of conditions where the plant is to be operated. Look overhead for power lines. If you're going to dig, contact the relative authorities to make sure underground services such as gas, power and water have been located and marked, and precautions have been taken to avoid them. Adopt a safe approach when reversing towards an excavation. Ask a signalman to direct your path. If the ground is soft and could subside, dump loads away from the edge and have a bulldozer move the material into place. When a truck is being loaded, don't enter or exit the cabin. Wherever possible, avoid travelling across and turning on slopes, because doing so could cause a tip over. The best approach is to drive straight up or down slopes. Park plant in the appropriate place at the end of a workday. Lock the vehicle and chock the wheels if it's on a slope. Fall prevention is an important safety issue on construction sites. Falls from a great height are not the only concern. Injuries occur due to circumstances such as falls into excavations, from ladders and downstairs. Fall safeguards entail more than having guardrails and tow boards to prevent people and materials from falling over the building's edge. Barricades should also be placed around stairwells, shafts and holes in floors. Be wary if you're unfamiliar with an area. Never run. Tripping over rubbish or slipping on liquid spills can cause falls, so keep areas clear. Keep your tools tidy and make sure cords are not a hindrance. Further injury reduction can be achieved by placing caps on sharp points. You must protect people from falling objects. If material falls as a result of doing certain jobs, fence off the area below to keep people away, or coverways should be put in place. When you have to do a job at height, close to an edge that has no guardrails, take precautions in case you slip. Wear a safety harness, suited with an appropriate fall arrest system that is secured to a sturdy anchorage. Follow manufacturer's instructions and know the equipment's limitations. If you use a suspended or elevated work platform, you should wear a safety harness with its lanyard attached to a secure anchorage point on the platform. Before you raise a platform or ladder, make sure there are no overhead obstructions such as power lines. Scaffolds are not places to put heavy loads or equipment, so don't overstress the structure. There are safer alternatives to working from a ladder, such as using a work platform that has guardrails. The power tools you use on site must be well maintained with a valid electrical safety tag. If you use a power board, it must have an overload reset switch. Use heavy-duty power cords. Cords should be kept away from water. Rig cords on hangers at a height that won't be a hindrance. If the only practical way to run a cord is along the ground, place planks on either side to protect it from damage from vehicles. Use the switchboard that is on your level. Don't run cords between levels. Keep switchboards clear and accessible. To avoid mix-ups, construction wire should not be tied to or bundled with permanent wiring. Ensure the electrical supply remains safe during maintenance and installation. Use locks, tags and isolating devices. A risk assessment must be undertaken whenever an activity occurs which may affect the likelihood of power cable damage. In this program, you are encouraged to maintain safety at work by identifying hazards and acting to control the risk. Be careful of traffic on site and make sure you are seen when working in areas where plant operates. Take precautions and wear a secured safety harness when you work near an unprotected edge. Ensure you keep power tools maintained and correctly use power cords and switchboards. Accidents at work can be prevented if you follow safe procedures and maintain a careful attitude. Don't take risks with your own or your co-workers' safety. It's not worth it.